Hello everyone and welcome back to Mr. Miller's Art Room. Today we are going to do an extension on the patterns that we learned from in the last video. In the last video we took these 6 different squares and we practiced creating different patterns within them. These are some examples of some patterns that some of my students created, and they're really interesting. They're ones that I didn't come up with, and it was really fun to see the way that everybody kind of developed their own ideas as to what the patterns might be. You'll notice that all the squares are completely filled in, so the shape is completely covered, and there's at least 2 to 3 different colors being utilized in each square. Today we're going to do something similar, utilizing different shapes on a large or smaller piece of paper. For this example, I'm going to be utilizing this smaller piece of paper. You're going to be utilizing a pencil to create these shapes. And what's more, some of these shapes are going to crisscross. Crisscrossing shapes are really interesting because they don't show overlapping, but they do provide us opportunities for different kinds of shapes within the shapes. Then what we're going to do is utilize the oil pastels just like we did for the patterns before, and we're going to put patterns in each different shape. I'm going to start with a square, then a nice big circle. I'm going to come in with this triangle, but it's not a true triangle because the edge of the paper counts as part of the shape. So this is more like an oblong rectangle. I did want to have a true triangle in there, so I added that. I added a horn shape as well, a thinner rectangle over here, and a small rectangle over here. So if we were to count all of these shapes, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shapes that I drew, and that's enough. I wouldn't go much more than 7 shapes on this piece of paper because then it would get too busy. Now what are we going to do? I'm going to utilize some of the patterns that you see here and more to fill in each area as a pattern shape. Now, I want you to understand that each area where there's a crisscrossing shape becomes a new shape. And the way that you have to imagine it is that all of these lines create walls that the patterns cannot go out of. So within this square, there'd actually be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different patterns. And the patterns won't go past. So in this horn shape, this will be one pattern. And then on the outside in this horn shape will be a completely different pattern. Try to change it up a little bit. Instead of just doing all lines or bars of patterns, try to think of different ways to utilize patterns. If you have a neighbor that's doing something cool and you want to try it out, go ahead and try it out. If you see on our Patterns Hall of Fame on the board over there, different patterns being used, and you like those patterns, go ahead and give one a try. Now, let's get started. Mr. Monocle?
Yes, Mr. Miller, I was wondering when you were going to call me.
What kind of colors should we start with?
Well, just like you did last time, we'll choose 2 different colors, have it in front of us, and then you can create a pattern. I think you should choose yellow and purple.
All right, we're going to choose yellow and purple. I'm going to start simply with the regular bar pattern for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start coloring, but what you got to make sure you do is color and stop when you hit one of the edges of the lines. Now here's a pickle. We've got these 2 lines coming down, and if they were to have continued, they'd continue down here. So we have to use the idea of overlapping shapes or overlapping colors in order to do this. What I do is I pretend to color down here, I pretend to color this area, but when I get to the outside of this shape, then I go ahead and I finish up this color. I'm going to do the same thing with the yellow over here. And there you go. Then I'm going to continue this. It takes a little bit of care, but if you accidentally go over the lines, is that a big deal?
No, Mr. Miller.
Why is that, Mr. Monocle?
Because This isn't perfect class, it's art class.
Exactly. Exactly right. I'm going to go ahead and finish up this whole bar right here, and you'll see what I mean. Now that we've completed this, you'll see that all the pattern stays within the walls of these lines right here. Then I'm going to go ahead and make some more patterns. I'm going to start with this one right here. Mr. Monocle, what two colors should I choose?
Teal or yellow-green and red.
One way to consider your patterns is by following the lines that you already have. So we've got this curve, and maybe what I'll do is I'll make some curved lines right here that follows that, but then what I'm going to do is take the teal and follow that as well until I get to the very end of this corner shape. Excellent. Now that's all done, I'm going to choose, maybe we'll do 3 colors this time. Maybe I'll choose yellow-green, dark green, and let's choose regular blue. And I think what I'm going to try is this radiating pattern right here. Radiating is when things go from the inside to the out. But instead of squares, I'm going to do circles. I start right here. Then I do a layer of green. Then a layer of blue. And then I start back to yellow-green again. Now I'm going to do brown, red, and dark purple. This time I decided to color all the brown stripes first. Then I'm going to go in with a different pattern. This red actually turned out to be like a reddish brown, which still works pretty okay. Now what I'm going to do is finish the rest of these shapes. And there you have it. An entire shapes paper filled with different patterns in every single shape.
Mr. Miller, you completed the whole picture, not just the shapes that you drew.
That's correct, Mr. Monocle. In these large areas where I didn't draw a shape, it actually makes a shape on its own. So I want to see from everyone that you use a different pattern in each picture. You can use some of the same colors. As you can see, I used orange here and over here. And you can change the patterns as you go along. I cannot wait to see what you come up with, and hopefully I'd love to see your Shapes Patterns picture on the Shapes Patterns Hall of Fame. Thank you very much for watching this video, and have a good day.
We said good day!